Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our special School Nutrition Mastermind Meetup. This is the SNA 2023 Election Edition, and I am Liz Rossell with C-Level Social. As always, I'm jumping right on in. Dan, for those that don't know you, I mean, come on, can you give us a quick rundown of where you're from, your district, those lovely stats we love to rattle off at SNA events?
Right. Well, my name is Dan Ellnor. I'm the assistant director in Louisville, Kentucky, Jefferson County Public Schools. We're one of those districts that they talk about. We've got 147 kitchens. I am responsible primarily for our central kitchen, which is a huge food factory, basically. We're bigger than some of the manufacturers you buy from. And we ship all the food, we scratch cook and ship it all around the district. So I've been in school nutrition now with Jefferson County for 16 years. I was with another company that sold to Jefferson County Public Schools for a couple of years, and then I started my career as a health inspector. So that's kind of a nutshell. We serve about 100,000 meals a day. We've got about a little over 95,000 students right now.
You queued us up perfectly for the first comment. Is Shauna Hall is watching because you did a presentation with her as former health inspectors, correct?
Oh yeah, a few years ago at one of the ANCs, I can't remember where it was, maybe in St. Louis. It was myself, Jessica Shelley, who's another former health inspector, and Shauna. So yeah, we tell some nasty tales sometimes.
I love
We
it.
have fun.
Well, if you all are watching and you're familiar with the format, just comment with your questions for Dan. We're doing this whole series with many of the candidates from the SNA elections that are coming up. I believe the first day to vote is February 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 15th, yeah, through the 28th, I think.
So Dan, can you, this is a little different if I'm understanding correctly, the position that you're running for and the structure of it. Could you tell everybody what you're running for and how that looks a little different this year than past?
Yeah, I ran a number of years ago when it was set up on a regional basis. So they had different regions around the country, and then you ran within your region, and then that representative who won would go on the board, and you had regional slots. Well, the problem with that is that limits things quite a bit to how many people that can participate. And so after going through that process and everything, I made some suggestions. I think everybody did. And SNA really took a look in their books and said, you know what, we need to change some things up and give some more opportunities for leadership and really just open it up quite a bit. So we've got 4 positions, at-large positions that are right now. We've got 8 people running.
And it is still called a regional director, correct?
No, it's an at-large director.
It's at-large director. Okay, thank you for clarifying that because that was new to me as to many others. So I have questions to queue up for you, just like I did with Krista last week. But again, if you're watching and you have a question for Dan, please comment with that. So first up, I'm gonna go a little out of order versus what we talked about. So so how about let's go with everyone running. I looked at the bios as I was preparing for this. You all have extremely impressive resumes. There's a lot of acronyms at the end of y'all's names, okay? I was running out of room on some of these. So out of all these positions, because you all have such long resumes, all of the positions that you've held, what's one position in your career that you're most proud of, whether in school nutrition or not?
Yeah, I mean, I've had, almost 30 years of working life. I started my career, like I said, at the health department. I was with the Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. I've been a Boy Scout for 35 years. I worked for them for through college. Gosh, I've done so many things. I would say working with the health department was very gratifying. I got a lot done there for the community. This last 16 years I've been with Jefferson County Public Schools. We do some amazing things. Through the pandemic, we fed a core of about somewhere around 10,000 families that were there, rain, shine, snow. Anytime we were on the curb putting out meals, they were there. You knew the need was there. And that was very gratifying to go through that. But I mean, thinking about, I want to live a life that my pride for what I do is in front of me, not behind me.
I love
That's
that.
pretty much it. I've done a lot of stuff. Old. I'm old.
You're so quotable, and we're gonna get to that in a second, the quote that always is around you, but before we've got Stacey Bettis watching, and she said, "I remember attending leadership with you," and if I'm remembering correctly, on a mastermind meetup, it was us with you and Bettis.
Yep.
She said, "Seeing your many accomplishments throughout your leadership journey, what leadership skill do you feel will help you most if you are elected onto the national SNA board?"
Ooh, that's a good one, Stacy.
You're the
Let's
one that always
see.
comes in with the good questions, so Bettis is carrying the load tonight.
Turning it right around. I don't know. I've got probably the one thing that I have that has really paid me well during my whole career and personally too is I'm very approachable and I'm open. Everybody's got an ego, but um, I truly believe that everybody matters and their opinion matters, especially in an association like this. So, and anybody that's met me at a conference and, stop me going down the hallway or whatever. When I won the Fame Award a few years ago, my wife was the first time she'd gone to a conference with me. And I'm walking down, the concourse or whatever, and people are like, Dan, hey, what's up? Hey, I got a question. Hey, how's things going? And my wife was like, this is pathetic. This is absolutely pathetic. I mean, you can't walk 5 feet. I'm like, I'm sorry, I kind of told you. It's just like I know everybody. I think approachability and my willingness to listen to everybody's stories, because that's what's needed at this level. You have to tell everybody's stories.
Yeah, and we kinda talked about that last week a little bit with Krista, Neal. She was talking about finding the next leaders too. So if you are approachable at that leadership level, you're gonna help find and cultivate the next level too. Um, Lena Reese said, "I can honestly say that Dan is one of the kindest and most sincere people who works in school nutrition."
Go on.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question specific to you, and if you are Facebook friends with Dan or you are on the same Facebook groups as him, you've probably seen this. What's up with your catchphrase? Failure is always an option. Tell us the story behind that because you are quick to use it, sir.
So I am quick to use it, and it drives some people nuts sometimes, which I like, because I like to poke people sometimes. Failure is always an option. That was when I discovered my superpower. It dawned on me, and I'm kind of slow. If anybody knows me, I am a little slow on the uptake sometimes. But the people are afraid of failure, and it didn't dawn on me, because I'm not, and I never have been. And that's one of those things that uh, I learned, especially during the pandemic, because we had to get out there and just figure it out, right? And it really, I hate to say this, I don't want to sound conceited or anything, but it was fun, or at least at the start, and then it just kept going on forever. But to figure out all the problems and everything, because I'm not afraid to fail. You you can start anything at any time. You only fail if you stop. And so I learned through my leadership journey with SNA about my strengths, and one of my strengths is connectedness and putting everything together. So I see the big picture really quickly on things, and I also, as everybody knows me, I don't mind talking or getting in front of people and acting, crazy and stupid, and to make a point. And there's not a lot of people that are willing to do that. I think I learned a four-letter word that cropped up especially during the pandemic, and that's just. Well, it's just a vaccination, or it's just school lunch. How many times have we heard that one, right? And it's a four-letter word. And what I started finding was people started using the word just on themselves. Well, I can't do anything. I'm just a cook, or I'm just a clerk, or I'm just a lunch lady, or I'm just a director. Well, I'm just in a small district. And I stop people and I say, stop that. You're not just anything. You matter. And that fear of failure, most people don't start because they're afraid they're going to fail. I mean, how many SNF? I mean, you've been around SNA for a long time. How many SNF scholarships go unwon because nobody applies? So that's how I learned my superpower. So if you live a life where failure is always an option, you're always out there on the cutting edge.
I just wrote an email within the last week, and I used the word "just," and I was like, "I think that's undercutting," and I removed it.
Yep, absolutely.
You're right, completely, and I do agree with you, especially the I'm just a cooker, I'm just a small district. Some amazing, amazing ideas come from the district and especially from those actually serving kids every day, so don't be afraid to share those ideas, I love that, so we've got some comments coming through for you, sir. Shauna's back. She said, Dan is such an inspiration. I feel blessed to call him a friend, colleague. He's an expert and one of my favorites. He's so humble. Let's see. And we have Tawny Landrum Jackson. She said, when I didn't know what my future with school nutrition would be, Dan saw my potential and gave me the confidence to strive for more. Um, yeah,
She's
and
one to watch out for. She's one to watch out for.
yeah, see, and I mean, I like to think I know a lot of people in school nutrition. I don't know Tony, so now I know who I need to know.
Yep.
And Shauna, I agree with you. Pivot is another word from COVID we will lose. We can
No, that's actually a quote from our presentation as health inspectors. You have to learn
Oh,
to squat and pivot. That way you
oh,
look underneath stuff.
I thought she was just when you said a word we heard a lot in COVID, that was where my mind was pivot.
There you go.
I did hear that a lot, but it wasn't 4 letters. So it's 8:11 now. We try to keep these a little shorter these days. And we know everybody's really busy, so we wrap you up in a little bit, but so get your questions in for Dan. Let me see. I'm gonna run through my list here I have. Here's something fun since so many people do know you and know a lot about you. What's something that you'd like SNA members to know about you that they might not?
They might not.
As they go to the polls. Think
Yes, as they go to the polls, what do they need to know about you? I don't know. One thing, obvious on here, I share a lot. Probably the one thing that it's your biggest strength and biggest weakness. I said approachability. It's I overshare. I have a habit of oversharing. I have a degree in biology, and I was on a pre-med track, which is how I got into the health inspection game and all that kind of fun stuff. And so um, I'm not grossed out by much of anything. In fact, there's a running joke that says I'm not a doctor, but I'll look at it anyway. That a shirt that I need because people will go up and go, "What about this abscess? Is it a problem? What do you think about that?" And I'm like, "I'm not a doctor." But that needs to be looked at, because you could have this, or this. That's the biggest thing is you can't gross me out. You can't
that
gross me. I can eat a cheeseburger over a septic tank.
Okay, so
There it is, oversharing. Sorry about that.
oversharing. I was gonna say the thing about oversharing, because I'm sometimes an oversharer as well, is I think that means we're honest. Like, I don't mind that so much. I mean, maybe sometimes we need to pull back, but
This
at
is
least
me. This is
means
me.
we're honest, right? Perfect. Um, and then, let's see. Uh, if elected, and remember, if you're joined us a little late, this is a little unique this year. There are 4 at-large director positions. Is that correct?
Yep.
4 positions or 8 people running, 4 positions open, and it's not just in a region like it has been in the past. If elected at the end of your term, what do you hope to accomplish that will make people say, "I'm so glad I voted for Dan?"
Well, we got a lot ahead of us. We got a lot ahead of us. There's a lot of things that we need to get done, and probably aren't going to get done, in the near term anyway. I think the everybody always says universal meals. That's outside of a lot of people's scope of being able to. There's a lot of other things that have to fall into play for that to happen. It's not just a good idea, right? I think for me, the biggest thing that we could do in the near term, at least my term on the board of directors, is 15 minutes in the seat to eat. If we could get some kind of legislation where you had 15 minutes, but in the seat to eat, and that would change the game on everything. It would change the game on nutrition education. It would change the game on a lot of things. And what's more important about that is that can be done at a state level. And that's something that everybody who's watching this can advocate for and get done on a state level. And if we get enough states rolled up with legislation, we can get it included in CNR.
Can you expand on that a little bit? I've never heard that phrase
I
before.
mean, I mean, time to eat lunch
Mhm.
is probably one of the biggest
Yeah.
obstacles that we have. And so, and that's just like you said, I like phrases, because it sticks in people's heads. If you can
Mhm.
just put 15 minutes in the seat to eat,
Mhm.
if that student can get through the line, sit down, and have 15 minutes to consume their food, there are so many health outcomes that we can change. There are so many behavioral things that we can change that matter. Um, and so, I mean, that is a doable goal, and it's a doable goal by everybody that's watching this because they can all advocate at their state level.
So I'm gonna ask a really possibly stupid question here. So is
No
that
stupid question.
that is something that would need to be advocated at the state level? It's not necessarily a district thing. It is you go to
It,
the
no, it absolutely could be a district thing. They
okay.
could do it at their own district, but really, as a SNA as a whole, we're better together. And so, as a singular director, you might have a great relationship with your superintendent, um, but there's other factors involved. But as a group of directors in a state, advocating at the state level, with everybody collectively working together, that's when you get change.
I love that. Lena said, "Amen. It keeps some of our high school kids from eating. They fear they can't get through the line and eat." I think Lena also gave us the perfect wrap up topic of conversation, which is the fact that you have no fear. And let's talk about that goldfish in the name of SNF. I saw it,
Oh,
saw
yeah.
that, and I was like, okay, tell them what she did, Dan.
So, yeah, I don't have any fear. Well, I do have fear. I have some fears, but it's not of food. I'll eat anything that won't eat me first. Pretty much. I've eaten bugs. I've grossed out middle schoolers. And so we had a fundraiser. It was kind of a spontaneous thing. And I think I don't know if Christy White's on here. Christy was part of the process on that one. I think we raised $5,000 for the School Nutrition Foundation when I ate a goldfish, and then we turned around just a couple of years ago, or a year ago. I can't remember when it was, and I ate two goldfish at once. Two's my limit. I discovered my failure is always an option. And so I discovered that two goldfish was my limit, but there is a talent to eating them that I won't share here on the public place. But you just email me or something, I can tell you how to eat a goldfish without throwing up.
I was not aware this was this has happened multiple times. This is
Oh yeah,
news to
yeah.
me.
Yes, it's happened multiple times. Yeah.
All right, I love it. I love it. Well, Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us on this series. I think it's a really great opportunity for us to get to know the candidates. We really appreciate it. Ashley's joined. Ashley Marina has joined us. Ashley, we're wrapping up now. This isn't the old days of the 1 hour mastermind meetups. What were we thinking? No, it was so much fun. But excuse me, that pre-K cough from my toddler. Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us. Election is the 15th, and I believe is it through the 28th.
Through the
Um,
28th. Yep.
so that's when the polls open. We're going again tomorrow. We have another mastermind meetup. We're doing one tomorrow, and I believe like 4 days next week as well. We're gonna have them keep coming. So please come and watch. Bring your questions. Alicia says, "Way to go, Dan!" And thanks, Shauna, for watching too. Dan, we appreciate you. Everyone watching, have an amazing night, and don't forget to vote.